Okay, are we filming? Yes, we are. So, welcome to another podcast. I don't know what episode it is, but I'll leave that in the title. I'm experimenting, as you're probably used to me experimenting, but I'm trying to make this podcast as close as possible to something that someone might listen to as well as watch. So I'm trying not to sort of I'm holding a binder up in my hands, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try not to do that, because I'm acutely aware that video podcasts on YouTube will be listened to as well as watched, increasingly so in the future. So just a little bit of intro as to what's going on. So I am going to be experimenting with trying to do this for the benefit of those that are listening as well as viewing. So that means describing things, but it also means shifting things that need a visual demonstration into my coffee breaks. So this may be a shorter podcast. You know, the longest one I've ever done is over 2 hours. I think 2 hours and 7 minutes. I've always tried to get these done faster than an hour, and I'm not even gonna set my Harry Potter hourglass inverted, because I'm positive that it's going to be less than an hour. But I may do them more frequently. But we'll see. The jury's out on that. So what am I going to concentrate on? And I'm just going to explain that before getting into the nitty gritty, as they say in the UK. First of all, there's something that I'm going to do now. I'm not even going to hold them up, but you know that I've kind of been trying to look at notes on my phone. That doesn't work. And that's a win for the analog world, because I think it's much easier for me, and I'm holding up my notes in a filofax. This is a Guildford Mini Extra Slim. Why am I using a Guildford Mini Extra Slim? I'll tell you why. It's because two reasons. One is, when I write notes in here, the notes are written on A7 rather than personal size or larger, because I am using the last unused pieces of paper that have gone through the process of A4, then A5, then personal size, then A6, and then finally A7, so that I'm basically recycling paper as I go, and they end up as notes in this particular case, my Guildford Mini Extra Slim. Now, those of you who have been following the travails and agonies of my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, I still regard this. Let me take my glasses off for effect. I still regard this form factor as, and it's the smallest filofax ever made. I won't go too far on this, but the bottom line is, ever since I discovered that the Mini Portlands had rings where the actual ring mechanism wasn't welded together, it was actually just an interference fit, which meant it was almost set up to fail at some point. I haven't destroyed this to find out whether that is the same, but I imagine that the rings are identical, frankly. I've stopped using the Guildford Mini Extra Slim as my diary and inbox, and I have been, and I'm holding up to the screen now, I'm holding up two things: my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which was a diary and inbox up until this week, actually, and then the other thing I'm holding up is my custom Atoma notebook, which is a similar size in format to an A6 Moleskine or Moleskine, which I'm finding very, very useful and reliable outside if it's being bent in my pocket or my bag for some reason. And I'm just demonstrating the flexibility by folding it in half at 90 degrees to the spine, and people who are watching this can see and marvel at the fact that this is very, very reliable, whether you fold it in line with the spine or perpendicular to the spine, it will survive. Do the slightest bit of bending with this spine in the Guildford Mini Extra Slim and it will fail, unless you use it as a sort of leather bound PDA, sort of hipster PDA style, which works. And I'm going to do that with my I have been doing that with my Portlands until a few weeks ago. I started using this. I've been using, and I'm holding up my custom Atoma notebook. I have used discbound planners for 10, 11 years. They've just been on the periphery, on the back burner, because I'm so enamoured towards the filofax brand. I mean, I've got nearly 100 binders. So obviously I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of filofaxes. Did I mention that I'm a fan of filofaxes? Well, there we go. So what am I using this for? Because I've got a couple of these, as you know, and I'm holding up two. One says pod, as in podcast. The other says coffee, as in coffee break. And so, you get the picture. I've got another one here, which is very similar, but it is the Filofax Mini Executive, which is almost the same size, same ring mechanism, I suspect. So all three of these, and I've just got a sticker so that when they're in a pile on my desk, I don't have to open it to find out which one it is. I can see, podcast, right. That is the one for my podcast notes. And so that's what I'm doing. As far as the podcast is concerned, what I've decided to do is just grab one, maybe two, possibly three videos and just focus on the comments and questions pertaining to that particular video or videos, so that there's an element of continuity in the discussion, perhaps. And so that means that I will effectively discuss that video and then move on to more recent videos. So there's only really one chance, and it's not a plug, it's not a call to action, but there is, by inference, if you want your comment or question to be featured given a particular video on a podcast, then you need to get your comments and questions in quick. And that means that then there's a better chance of me picking them up. Interestingly, as I was just finishing my coffee and coming up to the studio, my back room, another comment about a particular video I'm covering came through. Very, very sorry if that was you, but you just missed out there because I've already done my notes and I couldn't add anything else in here. So I would say if you're interested in having your comment answered or responded to, then get your comments in early, subscribe, and you know when they're coming out, hit the bell icon and all that good stuff, and then you'll be alerted if that is your bag. So let us start. I better put my glasses on. So I took them off for effect, and now I'm putting them on because then I can see and you're not all blurry. Okay, so what have we covered? Just to reiterate. So things that have a more visual nature, I'm going to do those with my coffee break, and I enjoy those because I enjoy coffee, and they might be up here. If it's cold or if it's warm, I'll do them in my kitchen. But we're just going to cover one video today. And you will see a screenshot of that video so that you can be reminded of which one it is. But the title is Paper-Based Productivity in the 21st Century. Should we still be using pen and paper? Now, you may recall that this is the one where it was a spur of the moment thing. I was with with friends in London, and we were doing a bit of street photography, and I just decided to quickly rush through a quick idea of what I was going to talk about and do some video and then edit it later, and it was well received. One or two people said it was my best video ever, which is very, very gratifying. Thank you. I personally thought the script was absolutely rubbish, but I was quite pleased with the editing. I'm not great at editing, but I'm learning. One of the reasons is because generally I'm just doing one take talking to camera, and I'm not really doing any multicam anymore. I'm just saying it as it is. So I quite like that for podcasts, because there's nothing hidden. It is what it is. Although if I have a coughing fit or a sneeze, or the doorbell rings, then I will have to definitely edit that out. But anyway, so paper-based production in the 21st century, should we still be using pen and paper? I'll leave a link in the description below, by the way. Okay, so these are all comments and questions relating to this one video, because there were a lot of videos. Okay, so Suzbot writes this. She says, and this gets my comment of the day, gold star. Okay, she says, this is cooler than the other side of the pillow. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of that phrase, but I think it's a fantastic phrase. Absolutely fabulous. So thank you very much. She continues, great photography, subject, content, and interactions, which is a good endorsement, isn't it? She says, I find pen and paper faster than getting out my phone. By the way, another London video soon, but I have mucked up some of the footage. I didn't get enough footage. It's not. I'm definitely out of my comfort zone filming in a city, rather than the safety and comfort of my studio, such as it is. But the reason, I mean, I'm digressing here, but the reason why I'm doing another one, and maybe a few more, is because I have several people have said, can you do one like on location? And London is effectively where I come from, where my ancestors come from. I have a close association with the City of London that goes back at least 400 years. So I'm acutely aware I'm treading the same streets that my ancestors trod, and I feel that I need that close association as I want to drawing to the end of my life. That's a little bit over dramatic, but it's something I want to do before I go, sort of thing. So if I can combine that with good company and street photography, which is what I do in one of my other lives, and make some videos as well, then so be it. Okay, so with regards to pen and paper, getting things down on pen and paper faster than using a phone, I totally agree with that. I mean, I could do an experiment where I get my phone out and do some experimentation and jot something down, but do you know what? It's so fast to just jot it down in a filofax or a notebook or a any sort of note. It doesn't matter what it is, even a sheet of A4 paper. It's just so fast. The only thing that perhaps is faster is making a voice memo, and that is faster. That is the fastest. But I'm kind of keen on using paper because apart from the fact you could there's a security aspect. There's of getting your phone out. You could be robbed, whatever, or your battery might go flat. I mean, my phone, I'm trying to do the eco thing where I don't upgrade every year. So this phone is 4 years old and the battery is I think when I last checked it, it was like 78% efficiency. So it's in terminal decline, shall we say? And I want it to last as long as possible. I do carry one of these. I sometimes carry a couple of power banks so I can plug it in. But nevertheless, power is all. And there's no power involved in getting your notebook out and writing something down. So I totally agree with that. Incidentally, I'll leave a link to Suzwatt's channel because although I'm not into bags as per se, it's more a sort of female thing. I've seen one or two of their videos and they're very, very compelling to watch and excellent. If you're into bags, that is the channel. So there's a link in the description. You will not be disappointed, I'm sure. Pam Jam Black is my next commenter. Pam Jam Black, who considers themselves as a filofax addict. Well, join the club. I'm a filofax addict too. Says that they see us reaching the point when electricity may not be guaranteed. Now, as we know, sometimes there are power cuts. Certainly power cuts in the United States. Sometimes we have them in the UK, especially when there are storms occasionally, some blackouts. And as we know from recent events, in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world where electricity is not guaranteed. And so you might have a situation where you run out of juice in your battery, or more critically, you have juice in your battery, but the network is down because the power being supplied to the mobile phone network has gone down. So that is a good point. It's not guaranteed. So my viewer says that they write first and type on a laptop second. And they say, as an added bonus, less likely to be hacked if you use a pen. Very, very good points. Very, very good points indeed. Just some out of interest. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but if you know someone who would benefit from the information in this channel, then spread the love and share this video or any other videos, and so they and then they can return the favour. So they're very, very good points. It doesn't happen very, very much in the UK, but it can obviously happen. Hacking, well, that's an issue too. I do worry sometimes that if your phone is unlocked and it gets snatched out of your hands, you may have very, very little time to lock it, and whoever's robbing you will not take kindly to if you say to them, "Oh, before you rob my phone, I just want to lock the phone, so it's really, really difficult for you to get my banking details, etc. out the phone." You'll probably get stabbed, maybe shot. That's a bit rare in the UK, but certainly stabbed. It's a risk. It is a real risk. The best thing is to just give them the phone. So if you don't have a phone to give because it's in your pocket, and they're gonna pick someone else, they're not gonna pick you. But it is a risk that you have to manage all manner of risks in life. But one of them is definitely fiddling with your phone, doing data entry, holding it out in front of you. And then because your attention is diverted, because you're looking at the screen and typing, you become a target. You definitely become a target. So you have to be aware of this, especially in cities, any city, but certainly London. This is a growing. Oh dear. Is it growing? Anecdotally, it's growing, but the official evidence is it's not growing. So you pays your money and you takes your choice as to who you might believe. But certainly it doesn't do any harm to think about the risk and mitigate that risk if you can. So where are we? Let's see now. I was just following on from this person. I think it was a gentleman. I tend to write first and then type later, rather than the other way around. I've always done that. Write first because it's a data entry task that is faster, and then duplicate that later if you've got an electronic diary. So that I would concur with that. I totally agree with that. And the writing can be faster, absolutely. Okay. JT, I normally say, how are we doing? But we're up to 20 minutes, so it won't be an hour. It won't be an hour. But I'm hoping that these will be more easily digestible and sort of more bite-sized, if you like, if we can. JT writes, paper all the way, as in they prefer paper rather than the analog world, rather than the digital world. Paper all the way. But I only carry a small notebook. Reminders on the phone for alerts. So actually that's what I do as well. So there are certain things I have to do, like take medication at a certain time, and then I've programmed my phone to beep at me. Now that's one situation where having a phone or some other device, but it's typically a phone these days, isn't it? Is better because you can set multiple timers. And also, critically, you can set different sounds for different events, which is like carrying a basket full of alarm clocks that all make different sounds and all go off at a different time. So that would be interesting. But it's the digital equivalent of a basket full of alarm clocks. And this person says everything else on filofaxes at home. Now, no, he said. He or she, it's plural. They've got at least 2 filofaxes, possibly more, possibly 100. Who knows? So good for them. You cannot have too many filofaxes. That is it's the most important advice I can give to anyone who has any doubts. You cannot have too many filofaxes. And he says, great video. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm the same. I carry notebooks. I carry more than one. When I was in London, I was carrying, let me just replicate this. So I was actually carrying 4. I was carrying my Atoma custom notebook as a sort of diary to-do list. I was carrying a Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which I was using as an itinerary for the day. I had this is a Retisy notebook, which it's basically a cheap version of Moleskine, but I rate this very, very highly. I mean, I've tried lots of different, well, not every single one, but a few, and I actually rate this very, very highly. So I'm gonna leave an affiliate link to this in the description. Which I don't normally do on a podcast, but I just love this. Numbered pages, nice paper, and the thing I like most, and this isn't a review, but this is what I like. On the hinge of the book, there's an elastic loop there rather than here, and so you can look at your notebook. And your pen stays there. And this book, I'm not going to reveal what's in here. I will do that in a film that I'm working on, and I have been working on for 3 weeks now, called The Book. And it's the subject of this very book, this book. So I'm really, really pleased with these, so I will leave an affiliate link. Just out of interest, I want to digress. I'm going to take my glasses off again. There's several of you that are clicking my Amazon. They have been. You have been clicking the eBay affiliate links, but you are now clicking Amazon affiliate links, for which I earn. Sometimes I earn a small amount of commission. So thank you very much for that. That cash, if you like, enables me to buy more things to review, to test. So it's like a, I wouldn't say it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's a small amount, but it's very, very welcome. So if you are one of those people that are using these affiliate links to buy products on Amazon, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. I'll leave a link to this particular Reticy notebook, which I really, really rate, in the description. So as well as these books, the Reticy notebook, the Moleskine Alternative, the Custom Atoma notebook, and the Guildford Mini Extra Slim, I was also carrying my Frankenfax. So yes, I carry lots of small notebooks. I wasn't carrying any traditional size, personal size filofaxes with me. I have done on business in the past, and I have been using this occasionally out. This is my A4 filofax Lyndhurst. I rate this really, really highly as well, but sadly, filofax don't sell it anymore. But very, very nice if you can get hold of one. There was one that sold this week on eBay here in the UK for £50. I think that's and it looks in good condition. I would say that's a bargain if you can find one. And you're looking for A4, then consider a Lyndhurst. I used mine is 20 years old. I used it every single day for a 10-year period, and there's no cracking of the leather inside, unlike some filofaxes that I won't mention, even though it's a Guildford Mini Extra Slim, and I'm holding it up for those that aren't able to view what I'm saying. Okay, so these are all pocketable, especially if you've got a jacket with many pockets. So thank you for that. Wang Wang writes, analog is the future. You are so right. I don't know whether you're male or female, but you are absolutely right. And she quotes from, this is a quote from Scott P. Shepper. Interesting. I'll if I can remember, I will leave a link in the description to one of the videos. It's interesting, but certainly I concur with the at least the premise that analog is the future. I mean, we won't be able to go back. We're not going to end up. We're never going to go back to purely analog, and we're never ever going to be purely digital. We are in this state of flux, which is a permanent flux, and I'm happy with that. And I certainly have. I've had a foot in both camps ever since computers were. I remember programming computers that were the size of a fridge freezer. I remember working on one computer that had a ferrite bead core memory. That's how old it was. If you don't know what ferrite bead core memory is, Google it. And this core memory was 1K, just 1K. Well, you compare that to this phone has the storage on there. I don't know what the RAM is. So I think the RAM on here is, either 4 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes. I think it's 4 gigabytes, and it's got a storage of 256 gigabytes. So a total many quantum leaps ahead. But I do always remember working on with computers with ferrite bead core memories that were probably older than me. What else can I say? Well, I mean, there is one thing I want to say about this. In some ways, I wish I was born. I was born in the early 60s. In some ways, I wish I was born in the early 50s. Because there were so many things that I would have enjoyed, but wasn't quite old enough to enjoy them. Like the whole 60s music scene. I just caught the end of this. I mean, my era was the 70s. I mean, I don't want to digress too much and go into music, but music's a big part of my life. But I just sometimes wish that I was born 10 years earlier, so I could have enjoyed the 60s as just old enough to enjoy the 60s. But one of the I've always been interested in computers, but there were no computers at school. There were computers at college, but we didn't have access to any computers at school. And I do remember, I mean, can you imagine these days, no internet? I know we're talking about an analog, the analog thing, but this video was discussing the pros and cons of analog and digital. And I would say one of the cons of digital was we didn't have it. We didn't have it. And so I remember doing my my O-levels and A-levels. The hardest thing wasn't writing writing projects, if you like. It was most of the time unbelievable today when you consider that data is so easy to, information and knowledge is so, it's just there, isn't it? Everything I discovered at school I could instantly find on my phone within seconds. The big problem at school in the 70s was you spent most of your time trying to access the information. And when I mean trying to access, it means trying to find a library that had a particular book you needed, and that meant not searching online. You had to phone them or visit them in turn, or when you needed a particular textbook, you had to join a queue. And so you had to carefully manage the access to information, because if you made a mistake and if you tried to access information and that information wasn't available because someone else had it, you would fail. Which is so, when you think about it, that is an absolute shocker. And it was just the tail end. If you're like a working class lad or a working class lass, and you were doing things like having to. I worked in Sainsbury's supermarket on Saturdays, and then in the evenings as well. And then I did no fewer than 3 paper rounds before school in the morning. So I was working very, very hard, even as a 15-year-old. It just beggars belief the difference in data acquisition now compared to then. So I mean, I embrace the digital world, but from a point of view of organising myself, that you can't beat the analog thing. But I mean, I know that's a digression, but it's certainly a poignant feature of my school days. The biggest problem was not what to write. It was how on earth could you get this information so that you could digest it and then use that information to your own advantage. It was the data acquisition that was the huge problem, a huge problem. So I'm quite jealous of people at school now because they have instant access to everything that I'm not bitter. No, I'm not bitter. Did I say I was not bitter? I'll stick with that. Okay, so Wang Wang also writes. So they've got into the podcast twice. So good for them. Have you ever considered using index cards as your EDC note-taking, everyday carry note-taking? Yes. Now, this is an interesting one. I've experimented at college with index cards. 3 inches by 5 inches, which I suppose is like A6, isn't it? Almost. And then at work, I had a one of these long cardboard drawers, like a library drawer, made of cardboard, and I had my index cards in there. So yes, there's a problem. The reason I don't have them now is they're quite bulky. I actually prefer this sort of format, But apart from it would probably work on a desk or in a home office. But the problem is the way the data is accessed. I'll give you an example where digital wins out on this occasion. When I was at school, we had no computers, but I was involved in an experiment. I'm sure that I'm not the only one that realised this, but if you had okay, I don't have any cards here, but just imagine this. Hang on, let me take it out. Okay, just imagine this is your index card. And if you have a series of holes drilled through, let's say you've got a series of these index cards in a box, like a shoebox, but designs to have a stack of these cards. You've probably seen them in a library before they went digital. Maybe they still do have them. And you punch these holes, a bit like the holes a bit like that. Okay, and then if you, depending on if you put some knitting needles through, and you have some of these holes are slots, and some of these holes are holes. If you want to select index cards that have, I'm just going to blow my nose. Sorry about that. That's better. Let's keep rolling. You can access things that intersect two groups by virtue of the putting knitting needles through and then physically lifting them. But it's obviously not ideal. What is ideal, frankly, I use the iPhone reminders app, because basically I can have different categories in here, and if I'm searching if I put in the name of one of my daughters, it will tell me all the things I have in this house pertaining to her. If I type in the word photos, it will tell me every single location in the house where there's photos. Or filofaxes, it will tell me all those places, or crosshead screwdrivers, or brass washers, or picture hooks, or drill bits, or inner tubes for bicycles, or vintage bayonet fitting light bulbs, or so I can instantly be told. It's like it's effectively a database that you can select anything very, very instantly. You cannot really do it with cards unless you have one particular category of item, and then it's okay. Or with the knitting needle thing, you could have 2, maybe 3. So it's not really for me. If it's just as an inbox, then yes, you could have a series of cards, and then you could have maybe a metal ring going through, or a bulldog clip. You could have something like this with a bunch of cards. Perfect, absolutely perfect, no problem at all. I have done that, and I do use I have used like a hipster PDA made out of data cards. But to be honest, I like this. I think this is a much better system. Not necessarily as bulletproof, because you can have paper with a lot of wear and tear and held together with a bulldog clip. whereas these are more transient because the paper will rip. After you've turned these a couple of hundred times, then they'll need replacing individually as they reach the end of their life. But it can be done. The only thing that I would say about it is cost. Now, if you have typically A6 index cards, work out about 2p each. 2p each. But a sheet of printer paper which you cut down into A7 is an eighth of the cost. It's an eighth of the cost. So significantly cheaper. So if you're using it as an inbox where you're writing stuff and that paper eventually is very, very disposable, paying 2p for a piece of card is very expensive and very wasteful. It's much better to pay. Actually, it's 16 times, isn't it? Because each A7 piece of paper, so that represents an eighth of a penny, because it's 1/8 of an A4 sheet, that printer paper that costs a penny, and a piece of card would cost 2p. So it's 16 times more expensive to use cards. It's also heavier. So if you're trying to travel light, there's a limit to the number of cards. So I would say from a cost point of view, it rules it out. But that is my opinion. I closed my book and I need to just find where I am. Where are we? Yeah. The other thing is, if you have a piece of paper and that's just cut like this, generally you'd be very unlucky to be cut with the edges like that. But if you had a piece of card, notice on this I have curved the edge there, and I've also curved the edge there and there as well. Sorry, if you're just listening to this, I'm holding up a card where I have basically chamfered the corners and smoothed them off so that when I have this in my pocket, it's not risking cutting the lining of my pocket. If you had a whole bunch of index cards and they were like sharp corners, would you really want to trim the corners? So that's four corners needing trimmed on each card, just so that it doesn't rip your pockets. Well, you probably wouldn't want to spend the time doing that. I mean, it's doable, but would you want to spend the time doing it? So that's another reason why personally I use paper rather than cards. But it's an interesting discussion, so thank you for that. Old Nose writes, this is a good one for me, so thank you. What an absolute fabulous idea and video. Just interviewing people on digital and analog, note taking. I hope you do more of this. Very creative and nice to experience a day in London. Now, these interviews were an accident. There was one guy that photobombed me, and quick as a flash, I roped him into the interview, and he was very, very good. But what I found interesting was that he never, when I said to him to use a notebook and notepads, and he thought I meant iPads. And then I said, no, what I meant was a notebook and pen. Do you use a notebook and pen? And he was very adamant he didn't use a notebook and pen. He did go on to say that he thought it was a good idea for students because the process of actually writing something down is good for imparting that knowledge into your mind, into your memory. So obviously he was a very, very good character he thought deeply about it, and but I was actually quite surprised that he himself never used a notebook and pen. So interesting. Am I going to do more of this? Well, I would like to. I mean, it caught me by surprise, the feedback from this particular video. I just the script was a very, very basic premise. Is there a place for notebook and paper in this world? I'm probably going to do more. I'm working on one at the moment where I'm really, really struggling with it at the moment to get it into a cohesive form, because I didn't do enough. It's very, very, well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's easier to just sit here with a few bullet points and talk to the camera. So there's no real editing required otherwise, other than, for instance, if I sneeze or something. But if you've got maybe 90 short clips, very difficult to get them. I find it difficult, but I'm finding it enjoyable, so I'm learning. So the answer is that I am going to do more of these, and although I don't live in London, I have an affinity with London and connections that stretch way back 400-500 years. So I am there was a period, quite a long time, during I can't say that word in case something happens to me on YouTube. But the issue where many of us were restricted from movement over the last 3 years. Well, that crisis has now been lifted, and so I feel I've had to be very, very careful because of the illnesses. I'm, when it comes to ailments, I have the full Monty of ailments, I can assure you. And so one of them is I have to be very, very careful with my lungs. So I am this whole thing where, though there's a list of illnesses which put you on a priority list for the thing that I can't talk about, and of those any one of those ailments afflictions will give you the high priority for countermeasures. I like the word countermeasures. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But I have 4 of those ailments, so I really do. So and I'm still alive, and I'm alive and kicking. So that's fantastic. I'm good. I feel good. I actually feel very, very good. So I'm gonna. The plan is to do more of these. Health permitting, but I feel pretty good at the moment. The only thing that I do find is that I can get probably the medication. I can get very, very tired, and my body clock is completely out the window. Like this morning, I got up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm probably going to after 12 and a half hours sleep. So I am sleeping for more than I sleep for more than most people. Sometimes I sleep 2 or 3 times in 24 hours. So it all depends. So I get up when I'm well enough to get up, then I feel fantastic. And then I know I'm digressing here, but then suddenly I can feel really, really ill and tired, and I have to fall asleep immediately. Otherwise, I crash. So I need to make the most of my time when I feel I'm well enough to do something. I feel like invincible, and then I can quickly crash. So this is a great thing for me, by the way, this making videos. It is very therapeutic. It's good, and the fact that I'm retired means I don't have any real timetable to adhere to, so I mean, thank goodness for that. Otherwise I'd have got the sack by now for oversleeping. So yeah, I will be doing more of these. Fred H writes, one day my phone reset itself to the factory settings and I lost everything, he says. So I have a lot of sympathy for that. That hasn't happened to me, but it is a fear, isn't it? It is a fear that will happen. And this viewer no longer trusts anything digital. Well, I feel for the guy. He says, my trusty filofax will not reset or run out of batteries, which is very true. I mean, that is a fantastic, the two reasons why using a filofax or some other kind of binder, it has a tremendous advantage. And he ends by saying, keep making those interesting videos. So thank you very much, Fred. I appreciate that. And I put relying on a phone does have risks, but those risks can be reduced. I won't go on too much about this, but as we know, you can have data in the cloud. If your phone's stolen, there are ways of remotely deleting the data. You can back things up by connecting your phone to a card reader or transferring things to the cloud and then downloading onto your computer, and then from there you can put it on either a portable hard drive or subscribe to a data service, a remote data service like Backblaze, which is what I do. Certainly, if you're in business, you need to have your data in 3 separate places, really. One of them really needs to be off-site. So that's what I do. But it's a bit of a faff. I do agree with that, but it depends. I totally agree with him about filofaxes. It's not the greatest invention ever, but whoever set this out back in Philadelphia in 1910, what a fantastic form factor, and what a fantastic I sometimes think about this, and the paper size, the personal size paper size, seems to have stayed exactly the same for these 113 years. It's incredible, really, when you think about it, or when I think about it, and I do think about that. And then, here's, this has been a standard that someone has decided to do all those years ago, and then people like me start to faff about and try and have custom sizes, as if it's going out of fashion. But I like doing that. I do like doing that. Yes, there will be more London videos, especially because I'm a street photographer. So when I go down to London, I've been going down to London more since this health crisis is sort of fairly over. Although it's still there, but our government sort of suppressing it and saying, oh yeah, everything's fine. But I don't want to do the politics. But people are still getting ill and dying from this thing that I won't mention their name. Although I don't see many people wearing masks, just a handful. I've stopped wearing a mask. I was one of the last people to stop wearing a mask when I went shopping. But I must admit, recently when I've been going down, I've started going down to London by train and elsewhere about a year ago, and not many people wearing masks anymore. But we'll see. But what I do like combining. Why do I do photography in London? Well, it's better than Bognor Regis. no offence to Bognor Regis, but I mean it's just an amazing city to photograph photographically, and I'm unlikely anytime soon to have a chance to go to New York or anywhere like that. So, do you know what? London is on my doorstep, so at least I'm not spreading myself too thinly. You know, I've been interested in photography for 53 years. I've been doing photography, and I'm still learning. But yes, there will be. I'm going to, due to popular demands, I'm going to try and do a little bit of flatability videoing when I'm in London, doing my other stuff. So yes, the answer is yes, I am going to do it. Okay, forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, your YouTube name. Gokulnatara. Okay, sorry, I won't even try it again. Right, several months ago, I didn't know what a filofax was, and now your videos have inspired me to buy a mini, a pocket, and a personal size filofax. So, amazing! Thank you for. I feel honoured that that I have inspired you to do that. So, whoever you are, thank you very much. That's great. He or she goes on to say, I wish more people knew about your channel, but I am sure you will never be forgotten. Well, not too sure. I'm going to take that as a compliment. That's awesome. Thank you. And with reference to the never being forgotten, I'm delighted to confirm that I'm very, very much alive and kicking at the moment. And I hope to keep one step ahead of the Grim Reaper for a little while longer. I'm not dead yet, so that means more videos. But thank you very much. And I hope that I won't be forgotten when I'm no longer here. But this is my advice. If I'm talking to you right now and you look at my videos and you've noticed that I haven't done any for a few months, that's probably because I'm no longer here. But my advice is to just go back to the beginning and start looking at my early videos and then plough through them again, and it will be as if I'm still here, and it will all be cool. Where are we? Oh, by the way, just a very brief reminder. I have a growing number of channel members who get certain perks. The most important one is they get to see videos before anybody else. But they also have I make a it's a bit old fashioned, but I make a blog specifically for channel members. Everybody gets to see the videos, but channel members get to see them early. So if you're interested in channel membership, I have a link in the description below. So that's enough of that. This is a fantastic one, and I wrote it verbatim because with a little bit of I've cut out one or two things because it just went on and on for a long way. But this made me smile. And it's by Johnny Ragado. So Johnny Ragado writes, and he's exhorting you to do this. So listen carefully. He says, go watch an interstellar launch. Feel the earth tremble as mankind dares the heavens' gravity. Oh, let me try that again. Go watch an interstellar launch. Feel the earth tremble as mankind dares the heavens. Gravity fails to imprison dreams and, at a pilot's command, nature and fate both cower in humanity. I mean, that's just awesome, isn't it? Fantastic. And he goes on to say, pen and paper has changed the world countless times. This is a wonderful video. Thank you for your thoughtful work. Now, I'd like to think that the interstellar launch is associated with some kind of eulogy to my video, but I suspect he's referring to how pen and paper has changed the world many times. But a delightful thing. So praise indeed. Thank you. We're nearly here, actually. Klaus Trotter writes, combining analog and digital for 20 years in my filofax mini is, I think English is probably not his main language, but bear with me. Combining analog and digital for 20 years in my filofax mini is where everything begins, like a storyboard of a movie. Now, I like that. I like the analogy of a storyboard. When you first jot down a design or an idea, I like that. I like that. So it's great. I might steal that analogy and you store it in my memory bank. I might use it sometime. So thank you very much, Klaus. So are we nearly there? Yes, we are. So, well, I'm hoping you've. It's just gone past the hour, so not too bad. So basically, they were all the comments, even though they're still coming through. They were all the comments from just one. Well, not all the comments, but the ones I picked, just from one video. So I'm gonna try this format predominantly because there will. I think already in the States, my video podcast is on YouTube Music, which can be listened to without paying a fee. With the music on YouTube Music, you have to pay a fee, but you do not have to, as I understand it, you don't have to pay any fee to listen to podcasts on YouTube Music. Now, Google, who own YouTube, are already shifting people they're closing down Google Podcasts and moving everybody to YouTube. So this is a big thing. This is how. So I imagine that this is what's going to happen, and the preference is going to the default will be for audio. So they're pretty smart people. They know what's going on and how this could be very, very big. So I remember. For some time now, I've been trying to present these video podcasts so you can see me, but I'm trying to avoid using visual cues, which would frustrate people that are listening to this. So this is a growing thing, and I'm filming this in the UK. I'm not quite sure. Whether it's available now, I need to check that. But certainly when YouTube and Google announced this some weeks back, they said their intention is to. I think they rolled this out in the US in April 2023, and they're aiming to follow that up by rolling it out into other countries by the end of this year, 2023. So by the time you hear this, it may already be available in your country. I'm going to start exploring this to see what I come up with. I mean, obviously, I can only go by what I'm hearing in the UK because I'm based here, but I'm going to do some experiments, I think. Just a matter of interest. I mean, obviously, this is a fairly long video covering just comments on one particular video. It just happened to be the video that I think I've ended up with 35 comments just on this one video. Amazing. I think I'm right. There will be other videos where there's not so much interest, and I will combine them if I can. I know I've gone a little bit over the top, but that's probably partly because I've been explaining the change. Yet another podcast change, but I'm going to try and if I can get them well within the hour rather than on the hour. But what the final thing I would say is, because I'm going to move on. So this particular video I filmed a little while ago, about 4 weeks ago. So I'm moving on from that. So I won't be doing any comments. If you're just leaving a comment like the person that's left a comment an hour ago, bad luck with that. But one thing I do want to say is I'm delighted to see people discussing comments amongst themselves, and that seems to be a growing thing. So, which I'm really, really pleased about, because I am now getting to the point where I can't read. Well, I'm trying to read every single one. I can't respond to everyone now. It got to the point the other Monday where I spent 3 hours responding to comments and researching for answers so I could reply. I mean, I can't do that, obviously. That's not sustainable. So we have reached a point now where I will not be able to answer every single comment. But if I can't answer your comment, there will be people out there who will be able to answer your comment. And that's what people are doing. So if you are able to answer someone's comment by just dropping in, feel free. I will be very, very grateful and happy if you do that. What I've done to that end, as you are aware, some of my earlier videos, it still has comment. It's on the tip of my tongue where I have to ratify the comments before releasing them. Whereas recent videos, I have lifted that. I have got some checking on there, so that if they're to try and weed out any, shall we say, malicious comments. Which seems to be working very, very well, actually. I'm quite pleased with the YouTube algorithm that's weeding those out. So it means now that, at least for the last month or two, if you leave a comment, it will go, and it's, so long as it's not caught by the anti-spam filter, then it will go live immediately, so that you can all chat amongst yourselves, which I'm very, very grateful for. So I will leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and in particular, if you are listening to this podcast rather than watching, will you do me a favour and let me know in the comments of this video, and just let me know and particularly if you're in the US and you are listening to this through YouTube Music, and indeed any other country, because I am really, really interested in this concept myself, and I think others will be too. And if you leave comments, then I will discuss this in another podcast, perhaps. So we are where we are. Just a final thing to say, that the anything that has a visual cue involved, that will be in one of my coffee break series. I have got quite a few mail times coming up and quite a few reviews. I'm also going to be selling more than a handful of my filofaxes out of my personal collection, and I'll be using eBay to sell them. And thank you once again if you're clicking on and making purchases using my affiliate links, either eBay or Amazon. Thank you for that as well. So lots of thank yous there. Take care. Bye bye.